I came to my daughter's wedding as a single dad, but my nameplate said, "Fake da." The usher slid the nameplate across the linen like a knife. "Fake da." I didn't argue. I tucked it under my palm and felt the sharp edge press my skin. When my father handed my brother the keys to the company, I didn't argue. I poured the tea, smiled for the photo, and that night, I opened the folder nobody knew I kept. My name is Marcus. I mop floors at night and fix elevators by day. People think that's the whole story. It isn't. The hotel ballroom smelled like roses and cold silver. Lights from a crystal chandelier scattered on the glasses like snow. Riley, my daughter, was in the dressing suit upstairs getting her veil steamed. She'd sent me a text with a photo of a lace sleeve, her sleeve, pressed against her face like a secret. "You good, Dad?" she'd asked. I had typed and erased a dozen replies before I settled on, "Proud of you." I didn't mention the nameplate. Not yet. A waiter brushed past, carrying a tray of champagne flutes. One bumped my elbow. Bubbles leapt and died. Across the room, the groom's mother, Elaine, inspected the centerpieces with a squint, like she could see price tags hidden under the petals. She wore diamonds that caught every beam of light and bent it toward herself. When she saw me, her lips did a smile without teeth. "Marcus," she said. "Do sit near the back. We have media up front." She adjusted her watch mid-sentence. "Of course," I said. My voice stayed even. I set the nameplate face down. I didn't come for them. I came for the girl who once fell asleep on my chest during cartoons, her hair smelling like apple shampoo. I came because when her mother left, I learned how to braid hair by watching videos at 3 in the morning. I came because she once pressed a band aid to my hand when I split a knuckle on a rusted bolt and said, "Heroes don't always look like the movies, Dad." The band rehearsed a gentle piece and then stopped. The cymbals sighed. Somewhere behind the folding wall, someone laughed too loudly, then checked who was watching. I heard a chair scrape, phones lifted. People floated in small groups around tall tables, practicing their faces for later. "Mr. Carter," said a young man in a tight suit. He had a badge pinned to his lapel with the groom's family, logo Dorem Garobe, navy on gold. "Elaine asked me to confirm your role in the procession. The family is entering together. You'll follow after the media and trustees." "I'm the bride's father," I said. "Right." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "It's about optics." I drew a breath. Set it down slow. "Tell Elaine I'll walk when my daughter asks me to walk. I'm not part of your optics." He blinked and wrote something on a card. "We'll see if we can make that work." He left before I could answer, tapping the card against his palm like a metronome. A murmur behind me. Was he the janitor? Another voice. "No, the father." "Oh, same thing." A keys clicked too fast in my pocket as I texted my friend, and only real ally, in this room besides my daughter Maya. She was the hotel's compliance officer, and she had promised she would attend as a guest. Not because she liked weddings, because she liked the truth. "Front row," I wrote. "Back right," she replied. "Better view of exits." "Always you," I said. The groom's father, Victor Dornwell, arrived like a ship, heavy and built to block. His handshake was the same, firm, then firmer, waiting for a flinch. He gave me a once-over-the-way men inventory a used car. "Marcus," he said, "you clean the hospital on 5th, don't you?" "I maintain the lifts," I said. "Elevators." "Right. Useful work," he said, and it was almost kind, which is worse than honest cruelty. "You must be very proud." "Riley is stepping up today." "She steps up every day," I said. "She just doesn't announce it." He tilted his head, studied my face for a reaction he could use, found none, and moved along. The photographers tracked him like satellites. I walked to the back and found my seat. The chair was cold through my suit. I set the nameplate on my lap, fake Da looking up at me. The missing last letter bit the air like a half-told joke. I turned it over, set it blank side up, and folded my hands. At that moment, my phone buzzed again. "Riley, I'm nervous." "Me." "Me too." "Really?" "What?" "Me." "Because weddings." "Really?" "Me." "Because people?" I added. "Whatever happens, we breathe." She sent a heart. Then another message. If anything feels wrong, wait for my cue. Why was the door already unlocked? The bridesmaids crossed the aisle in soft peach, faces steady under the weight of everyone's attention. The groom, Nolan, stood at the front like a man who knows the camera likes him. He pushed his chair back loud when he sat, then adjusted his cufflinks mid-laugh. He checked to see who was watching. "Ready?" A coordinator whispered at my ear. I rose. I felt my breath like a rope I could climb. The music swelled. The right one, but a fraction too fast. I saw Riley at the far end of the aisle, veil like a small cloud, her arm lifting toward me. "Dad?" she mouthed. I mouthed back. She nodded. I took 2 steps and then a hand landed on my forearm. Not hard, polite. The young man with the badge. "Just a small change," he said. "Sado vos. The way people talk when they do not fear you." Victor wants to escort Riley halfway. For the photos, I looked at his hand, then at Riley, then at the hand again. "No," I said, one word. I held his gaze until his fingers lifted. Calm power. A page turned once. Riley's arm slid into mine. We walked. The room did that thing rooms do when many people agree at once to pretend not to notice. Phones lowered. Whispers clipped. At the altar, the officiant smiled too widely. Nolan glanced past me at his mother, who nodded like a stage manager. Riley's fingers trembled where my hand met her wrist. I squeezed once. She steadied. The vows started. Nolan took his turn first, smooth, almost practiced. He said words about partnership and growth that sounded like they belonged in a quarterly report. The crowd laughed at the right moments, then checked to see if others were laughing. When it was Riley's turn, she drew breath and found me with her eyes. Something moved across her face, a decision settling into shape. "Before I speak," she said, "I'd like to address something." Phones lifted again. A ringtone chimed and died. Riley lifted her bouquet and slid a small card from beneath the ribbon. The card I had seen her write last night. She tilted it toward the mic. Her mouth was steady. "My father's nameplate," she said. "It says fake duh, missing the last letter." Like a little joke. Elaine's smile tightened. Victor adjusted his watch. Nolan's jaw flicked. "I'm not going to cry," Riley said quietly. "I'm going to be clear." The ballroom held its breath. "I was told he'd sit in the back," she said. "I was told he'd walk me only if it fit optics. I was told, by a family that prides itself on legacy, that his work made him less." A soft laugh somewhere, then silence. "My father taught me legacy," she said, "not with money. With mornings, with night shifts, with gear oil under his nails and the steadiness to show up anyway. He taught me to read contracts, to keep receipts, to keep a folder." She looked at me again. I kept my face calm because that was the only way to keep from breaking. "And since some of you like optics," she said, and here her voice warmed, "let me give you one." She nodded. A door at the side of the ballroom opened. Maya stepped through in a navy dress and a controlled expression. She carried a folder. People turned. The band leader's hand hovered, unsure if he should play something. "Riley," Nolan whispered, teeth barely parting. "What are you doing?" "Being clear," she said. My heart hammered the inside of my chest like a fist on a door. A part of me wanted to stop her. Another part, the part that learned too slowly what keeping the peace costs, stood still. 2 years ago, Riley said. Looking at Nolan, I pitched a prototype for an enzyme scaffold to Dornwell Labs. I was told it wasn't strategic. 3 months later, Nolan presented a new concept in a slide deck. My concept, down to the error in the 4th bullet point. I have emails. I have timestamps. He called it teamwork. I called a lawyer. The crowd shifted. Someone stopped chewing. Nolan's smile chilled. "We worked together," he said, louder now. "You were a summer intern." Riley tilted her head. "I was a contractor, paid through a third-party agency to avoid benefits. My scope memo calls me lead researcher. Your family's legal team can verify it." Elaine let out a short, controlled breath. "This is not the time," she said. "It is precisely the time," Maya said. Her tone had vacancies in it where softness might have been. "Since the prenup on this table references intellectual property." Murmurs. Chairs scraped. Maya opened the folder and slid an envelope to the officiant. He looked down, lost, then handed it to Victor. Victor didn't reach for it. He adjusted his cufflinks. "Riley," Victor said, paternal and sharp. "We can discuss this privately." "Privately is how things vanish," she said. I didn't speak. I held the breath line and counted the beats. I thought about the folder I kept, the one full of things I never used. Performance reviews that credited others for what I fixed. Emails where my brother keyed me to keep me in the loop. On decisions about the family company I had built scaffolds for, literally and otherwise. The day my father handed him the keys while I poured the tea and smiled for the photo. That night, I opened the folder nobody knew I kept. I slid in a copy of the deed, the bylaw changes, the memo about consolidating names. I wrote the date. Nolan's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" he hissed. "Nothing from you," Riley said. She slipped her hand from mine, turned to the guests. "I came today ready to marry a man I thought would stand up here and say something true." Then I saw the nameplate. I saw the seating chart. I saw my father treated like a prop in your optics. That was the push. But it wasn't the reason. She paused. The pause was a cliff edge. "The reason is that, for a year, I've been building something you told me I was too young to build," she said. "A lab, with 2 partners who have their own stories. We filed this morning." She nodded to Maya, who handed Victor the second envelope. "The acquirer in your private bank meeting. The one you hoped would save your declining diagnostics division without the press hearing about your trial anomalies." She smiled, small and real, at the edge of her mouth. "That's me." Phones rose and stilled. Someone whispered an expletive. The bandleader's hand found the baton and set it down. Victor laughed, and it came out like a cough. "Sweetheart," he said, the word a knife with sugar on it. "You can't possibly." "Dornwell Diagnostics Board is meeting at 5, Maya said. "Crisp, precise, emergency session. The independent directors have your quarterly variance table. The FDA letter. The 3 QA emails you didn't forward. They also have a term sheet. None of this is public." Elaine snapped. "It won't be. It will be," Maya said, "because your son sent an email from his personal account to mine to gloat about beating a junior vendor. He didn't BCC. He forwarded a draft 10K. He wrote, and I quote, 'We'll bury the batch failure in spillover and call it efficiency.'" Heads rotated toward Nolan. A laugh, nervous and thin, tripped at the back of the room and fell quiet. Nolan's eyes slid to me as if to say, "Help me." I didn't look away. He searched the space between us for a familiarity he'd never earned. "This is insane," he said to Riley. "You don't understand M&A. You don't understand how this works." Riley's face softened for 1 second, the way faces do when they recognize someone at last. "No," she said. "I understand perfectly. I learned from people who thought I wasn't watching." She set her bouquet on the altar. The flowers made a soft sound, stems against cloth. Calm power. "Before we go on," she said, "I want to ask my father a question." I nodded, once. "Dad," she said, steady in public. "Did you ever once tell me to quit when it got hard?" "No," I said. "Did you ever take credit for something I did?" "No." "Did you ever tell me to wait for permission?" "No," I said. And the word felt like a key in a lock that had been there all along. "Then today," she said, "I won't either." She turned to the officiant. "I'm not getting married today." The room reacted like a tide dragged by a moon. Half a beat of intake, then noise. Elaine rose, chair legs snarling the carpet. Victor's jaw worked. Nolan took a step toward Riley and then stopped, because Maya had moved her body into the space of the aisle with the stillness of a person who knows policies and how to use them. "Riley," he said, a whisper with teeth. "We'll talk in the suite." She looked at him and then back at me. "No," she said. "We'll talk at the board." The band adjusted their sheet music and then didn't play. I gathered our things. My hands shook so slightly I could pretend they didn't. We walked out of the ballroom past faces that were sharp with curiosity, then blunted by the recognition of themselves. I held the door. Riley went through first. Maya followed, her bag zipped with finality. In the hallway, the hotel air felt cooler. My breath found a rhythm again. Elevators hummed 3 floors above us, a language I knew by heart. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you every step," Riley said. Her hand hovered, then landed soft on my sleeve. I needed it to be clean. "I taught you that," I said. "You did." I looked down at the nameplate still in my hand. "They missed a letter," I said. "They missed the point," she said. "We rode the service elevator because it was quick and because I installed the new boards last month and trusted them not to stall." The panel light flickered once, then steadied. My keys were warm in my palm. Maya checked her watch, then locked her phone and smiled, a rare, small thing that reached her eyes. "We have 15, she said. "When did you decide?" I asked Riley. "The day Nolan called my slides cute," she said, "and the day I found out about the trial anomalies." Her mouth tightened the way mine does when I think and decide at the same time. I wanted to be angry. Instead, I took notes. We stepped into a smaller conference room off the main board floor, the kind with glass walls meant to make everyone feel seen while guaranteeing no one actually listens. Beyond the glass, I heard the muffled movement of executives gathering. Chairs scraped. Quiet laughter tried itself and failed. Maya spread the documents on the table like a card trick. "These are the key turns," she said. "Not every step, just what matters." She slid me a page. "This shows the chain of custody on the samples," she said. "Dates, times, who logged what. This is their weakness shortcuts. This is ours patience." I read. My heart slowed into gear. Another page, the term sheet. I recognized a name, Evan Park. An auditor from another life when I was a facilities manager at a midtown tower, and he'd stopped to talk to the guy who kept his elevator from trapping him between meetings. He'd given me a card then and said, "If you ever need to talk about people who think paperwork is ash." I had kept the card because that's what I do. Keep the things people think are small. Maya tapped a paragraph. "Reputational cleanout clause," she said. "If misconduct is confirmed, removal is clean and public." That's the leverage. "Will it hold?" I asked. "It'll hold," she said. "It's written for daylight." A knock at the glass. Not loud, I turned. The door opened and the board secretary, a spare woman with eyes like a hawk, stepped in. "They're ready," she said. "And..." She hesitated, then straightened, professional. "I watched the live stream," she said, "and that admission cost her something." "I'm sorry." Riley nodded. "Thank you." We entered the boardroom. The table was a long curve of polished wood. Windows on one side held the afternoon sky like a patient. Directors arranged themselves in a scatter that meant alliances. I recognized the signs. I have sat in break rooms where power sits in sweatshirts and calls itself tired. I have stood in lobbies and seen it float by in suits like smoke. The shape is the same. Victor sat at the far end, his hands steepled like a church. Elaine flanked him. Nolan perched at his right, the skin around his eyes tight with the speed of recent panic. He adjusted his watch again. A tick or a ritual? A tell. "Let's begin," the chair said. Neutral voice. A fair voice, or the kind that knows how to perform fairness. "We've had developments." Maya placed the folder on the table. "We have," she said. "My name is Maya Price, compliance officer, guest of Miss Carter. I'll keep this brief." She didn't keep it gentle. "Evidence key turns only." The discovery, Riley's slides, metadata, the email where Nolan renamed the file and removed her initials but left the typo. The defense, the scope memo classifying Riley as lead. Witness, a lab tech who had asked Riley a question at 20:14 a.m., timestamp, 2 months before Nolan's deck. The trap, the FDA letter acknowledging inquiry into trial anomalies. The board blinked. Victor spoke without moving his mouth much. "We've addressed that already." "Internally," Maya said. "Externally, not yet." The reveal, the term sheet. The acquirer. The governance clause. "We will not allow a hostile narrative," Victor said, laughter roughening his words into something that didn't laugh. "This family has built." "We're not attacking your family," Riley said, voice plain. "We're rescuing your patients." Phones lowered. Silence learned how to stand still. Nolan tried a smile on the room. It didn't fit. She's making herself sound noble, he said. This is about money. Everything is about money until it's about blood, Maya said. Her eyes didn't leave the chair's face. You know the batch failure affected real people, yes? Not lines on a spreadsheet. Victor's hand rapped the table once. He seemed to hear it and stopped. Speculation, he said. Numbers, Maya said, and slid the table of variances across. Here. The chair's eyebrows rose a fraction. The ally who had begun skeptical cleared his throat. Evan. He raised a hand slightly. Chair, he said. I can confirm the authenticity of the variance table, and the prenup's IP rider is enforceable. If fraud is shown, it voids the rider's protections on the Dornwell side. His tone was quiet, and it carried. The room tilted. People in suits don't like sudden slopes. They prefer tiny stairs they can pretend are flat. Victor's voice sharpened. You, he said to Evan. We vetted your firm. You vetted my calendar, Evan said. Not my spine. I watched the faces. I saw hunger on 3, fear on 2, wariness on 1, calculus on most. Motion, the chair said, crisp. To enter closed session for executive review of presented evidence. All non-board, non-counsel step out. Maya nodded. We'll wait, she said. We stepped back to the glass room. Riley sat. I stood. The hallway air smelled like carpet glue and the memory of coffee. I thought of the day my father gave my brother the keys and looked at me like I was the good son for not making it messy. I had taken the compliment and turned it into silence. I lived there for years. It wears a person down the way a slow leak empties a tank. You don't hear it. You just get lighter and lighter and think you're strong. My phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't save because saving it felt like admitting a favor my brother Steve. Heard you're at a wedding. How's the fancy side treat you? I looked at the text. I typed. Deleted it. Typed. They're teaching me optics. Deleted that. Finally, I wrote. I'm watching a room learn what wait feels like. I didn't send it. I put the phone away. Another buzz. A different sound. Maya's laptop chimed. A file uploaded. Timing, she said. Look. We leaned over. An email from the board secretary. Closed session updates. Independent counsel recommends immediate suspension of Nolan Dornwell from all lab-facing duties pending inquiry. Advising Victor to step back pending QA review. Vote at 5:20 p.m. Riley didn't smile. Her hands made fists and then opened. Calm power. Steady breath. What happens next? I asked. Maya looked at my daughter. You get to choose, she said. We built this so you have choices. Riley turned to me. Dad, she said quiet. Would you join the interim advisory? Just for the transition. They'll need someone who understands the bones of a building and who has nothing to prove. I swallowed. I saw long hallways and bad fluorescent lights, and the way a leak tells you a story if you listen to the pattern of the drip. I saw my nameplate in the ballroom. I saw the missing letter. I saw Riley at 5 years old asleep on my chest. On one condition, I said. She waited. That we don't forget who this is for, I said. Not the room. The people who never see the room. Deal, she said. The door opened. The board secretary didn't step across the threshold. She stood in the doorway, which felt like a line. They're reconvening, she said. You're requested. We went. The chair's voice had gained weight. The subtle kind that lives in the chest and not the throat. We've reviewed, they said. Mr. Dornwell, temporary step back pending investigation. Mr. Nolan Dornwell, suspended from lab operations effective immediately. Independent audit commissioned. And, they looked at Riley. We accept the non-binding term sheet for exploration. We would welcome ends. Carter as interim board chair for 3 months, with Mr. Carter and Ms. Price on the advisory panel. Outside, the day had shifted. The gold was softer. Traffic made that city sound that means life, not panic. Riley looped her arm through mine the way she had at the aisle, but lighter now, more like a habit than a ceremony. Hungry? I asked. Starving, she said. She hesitated.
Dad, less.
I'm sorry about the dress, she said. You didn't get to do the photo. Or the dance. We still can, I said. Kitchen floor. Socks. She laughed and the sound was clean. We walked. At the corner, a kid on a scooter nearly clipped us, then pivoted and said, "Sorry!" Like only children and very old men know how to say it. A breeze lifted the edge of Riley's veil where it poked from her bag. It fluttered once and then rested. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from a number that wasn't saved because I knew it by heart without digits. My brother. Heard something big happened. I typed. We'll open the folder. Sent. That night, at the kitchen table, we ate takeout from the place with the two bright lights and the honest portions. Riley spread documents across the wood that still bore the scars of her science fair volcano. Maya joined us after finishing forms, took off her shoes at the door without asking, and sat with her legs folded under her like someone who knows she can rest here. We wrote emails. We wrote dates. We made a list of people to call and people to ignore. We set the first advisory meeting for Monday at 9. We called Evan and said thank you in a way that carried what the words alone cannot. That nameplate. Riley said, finally, not looking at me, arranging a paperclip as if alignment made order. Want me to toss it? No, I said. I'll keep it. Why? For the folder, I said. She smiled at that. Of course, she said. As midnight moved over the windows, we made tea. We didn't say more. The house ticked in the way old houses do, settling their weight into the dirt that holds them. I thought of my father's hand, heavy on my brother's shoulder, the day of the keys. I thought of the photo. I thought of how much trouble we avoid by being kind, and how much harm we cause when we mistake silence for kindness. The next morning, a reporter called. We didn't answer. We met with the QA team. We opened logs that had been closed too soon. We sat with patients who had names and stories and didn't care about family brands. We apologized, not with press lines, with faces. A week later, the board voted again, this time with daylight. The press piece landed. The photo at the top showed Riley at a podium, hair back, eyes forward, the caption using words like entrepreneur and advocate and new model. People online said things. Some were kind, some were cruel. None could see our kitchen table with the scratched wood and the tea mug ring and the place where the nameplate sat. A small monument to a room that had tried to make a joke and made a legacy instead. A month later, we filed the formal acquisition. The day after that, Nolan's attorney sent a letter with 4 pages of shadow. We replied with 2 words and an attachment, see evidence. Then we went to work. A year later, I stood at the back of a different ballroom. Not a wedding. A fundraiser for a nonprofit that matched diagnostics to neighborhoods without the money to make their own choices. A banner with my daughter's name hung not behind her, but beside a list of others who had decided to stand in the same place for the same reasons. The band played something easy. Someone's child danced in socks. The food tasted better because the room did. Riley stepped onto the small stage. The lights were simpler here. Phones lifted, then lowered. People listened. She spoke not about victory but responsibility. She named the technicians by first name. She thanked the night staff who patched the air system when the lab grew humid in late July. She said, "We learned that shortcuts cost more than they save. We learned that patience is faster than panic." Victor sent a note once. Not an apology, a statement about regrettable tone. I put it in the folder. The folder is heavy now. It keeps me upright. After the speeches, after the plates and the handshakes, and the small confessions that people give to strangers who look like they might actually keep them safe, Riley found me by the door. She slid her hand into mine like a habit. "You all right?" she asked. "I am," I said. "I'm glad we didn't need their blessing," she said, half to me, half to the air. "We never did," I said. She rested her head against my shoulder for a second. The way she did when she was small and the world was bigger, and we didn't yet know what it would ask of us. I felt the weight of her hair and the lightness of the moment at the same time. It's possible to hold both. When we left, the night was cool. The city breathed. Somewhere, an elevator climbed and stopped exactly where it should. I slipped the nameplate from my pocket and looked at it again under a street lamp. The missing letter stared back like a dare. I didn't fix it. I didn't throw it away. I just finally put it down.